Hello, Peyton. This is Matt with Cooler. It's good to meet you. I'm at your place here in Crested Butte and just wanted to do a walk around, and I'm going to speak and point out a few things and provide some education. So we've got a few different wood factors going on. We've got our vertical siding, and as you may already know, it's a little bit dry. If I put water on here, the water would seep in, and the way to protect that, my personal favorite, is a semi-transparent or a transparent oil-based stain. Now this year Colorado changed VOC rules, and the preferred stain that I use, super high quality, it's Rymar, and they have an extreme weather stain. It seeps into the woods, it bonds to the grain fibers, and it creates a flat finish. So I would recommend that throughout all of your freeze board and fascia, your trim, and your vertical siding. We could do two tones. There seems like there's a lighter tone up top and a darker on the vertical, and that could be a nice aesthetic. Keep the trim, the fascia, freeze, the underside of the soffits, and the trim around the windows a lighter color, and do a slightly different brown tint on the vertical. With the logs, I wanted to get a look on the back side, because the front side logs are still a little bit protected. The back side is not, as I'm seeing this now for the first time. I'm walking it with you. So we could do some refinishing on the doors. Again, we've got the trim, the vertical siding, the logs. We could use the same product. I want to go to the front in just a moment, because what I noticed on the front, maybe it's around here, there's a little bit here remaining. So what's been on the logs, there's a shiny sheen here. I don't know if the camera picks that up or not. There's a little bit of a product that's like a Cetal, and Sikkens makes a product, a couple manufacturers. Rymar makes one that's a clear, and it goes on and it sits on top. And if the desire for an aesthetic is a shiny, polished log, coming through the video, I think, is this top log, super protected, being under the eave there. That has a sheen to it that's a top coating. And so likely what happened with the logs is potentially they were stained with a semi-transparent stain, and then they were coated with a top coating product to give it a sheen. With the logs, what we could do is come through and do some chinking, because a lot of times when I look at these, you know, some of these have cracks and checks have already been chinked, so we'd want to clean them good. Chink something like this where water can get into that log and continue its freeze-thaw cycle, bust it out. So we chink with a light color and then clear coat this so we get a little bit of a sheen going. I could see some of it on the trim board too. But nonetheless, you know, the front's going to have a lot more of that clear coat, and that will not allow any penetrating stain to do its job. So we'd want to stay with a similar type of product and have something that sits on top. So my recommendation would be to have a penetrating oil on the vertical woods and your cedar wrap around the fascia freeze board. On the logs, do a top sitting product, and from Rymar, that product's called Refresh. And there wouldn't necessarily be a tint to it, but it will darken the logs. And then we'd get a couple coats on it to really build it up so it has a real good protective factor. And then what we'd want to do, especially with that product, the one reason I don't like the Sikkens and the Cetal products is because of the maintenance, and so few people maintain them regularly, so they will eventually flake and expose the wood to the elements, and then it becomes more of a refinish type of project. And on that note, if you told me you wanted the logs to look new again, we'd want to come in and sandblast them, get them down to a real fresh base. You can see like these logs are well protected. There is no need to sandblast these. We would just have another coating of that refresh on them, clean them really well, refresh them, maybe address some of the checks if there are any exposed. We still have some good seals on a lot of these checks. So on this side, it's way more protected. We have had that product up on the eaves as well. So I'd want to consider that as we go around the house. And this front door looks great. So there's a little bit, maybe too much information, but as Katie and I are putting together a proposal, we want to think about all the considerations of historic product and current weathering. And so one question will be, let's get super clear on your outcome. Do you want brand new looking? And if you do, on the back side of the home where the weathering is at its harshest aspect, we'd want to blast the logs so we can regain a conformity with some of these logs that have been really protected by the house and the aspect that it sits. Beyond that, a real good cleaning, and if we didn't sandblast, we're going to be able to gain a good integrity. It's just a matter of aesthetic. And again, if you're okay with the character of a weathered log being sealed up and protected from there, then I'd say we can move forward and plan to seal everything. But if you wanted that outcome of brand new look, which under here has, I'm not going to be able to gain that conformity without taking everything down to start from the same level. So hopefully that makes sense. Stellar home. This is absolutely beautiful, and I love the log work on it. And I would be just super honored to help you take care of it. So with that, we'll be in touch. And if you have any further questions, feel free to give us a call. Thanks so much.